Good evening. Let's call this meeting of the Historic Preservation Commission to order. As usual, we start with the roll call as printed on the agenda. Kayla?
Here.
Fred?
Here.
Nora?
Here.
Myself, present. Dusty? You gotta push the button.
Nope. The gray button on the stock.
On the base of it.
Oh, I think it's turned around.
Here.
There we go. Melissa?
Here.
And Patrick? Here. All present. Awesome. Are there any amendments to the agenda before we get a movement to adopt it for this evening? Louise is muted, but it sounds like we're good to go unless anyone else has something to add to it. Movement for adoption of the agenda, please.
Move to adopt.
And a second.
Second.
Thank you. Next item is approving minutes, but again, we have August attached to our agenda like last month, so that's a backlog of at least two we need to review later on.
Yep, I just noticed that, and I can put them up right now if you guys have your computer. I just dragged over the wrong one, so if you guys want to give me a moment. I guess while I'm doing so, a couple points of order for the newer commissioners. Sorry that I didn't tell you before, but please always do try to speak into the microphone. I know sometimes it can be easy to forget to speak into the microphone. We seems like just all got the crash course in pushing the button. Mine's not working right now, so I'm one to talk. It just makes the minute taking, which is ironic, a lot easier at the end of the day. Without speaking to the microphone, it's almost impossible to hear folks when they're talking. So they do cut out in the middle of you talking from time to time, admittedly. So usually if you just wait for a second, it will come back on. You can just tap it or wait a second. I think, if we miss a couple words here or there, I think that the inference can still be made at what you were trying to say. But for the sake of city staff trying to take the minutes, it really does help when we have the microphone on. Now I'm just vamping, trying to get this to work. If you guys just want to move that to the end of the agenda, we can come back to it.
Sounds good. We'll circle back to that. Next, we have public comments. Are there any from the audience?
Hi, I'm Pam O'Connor. I live in Kalamazoo, Michigan, and I have a couple of comments I'd like to make tonight and a question. First of all, I have a limited number of copies of Kalamazoo Lost and Found left in my stash at home. We have traditionally made gifts to new commissioners in the past. We have 3 recent new commissioners and one that was appointed earlier this year. I don't know if any of you already have a copy of this, but if you don't, I have some for you. The 3 of you and Kayla? Okay. I'll bring another one next month. Okay, if you don't mind, and I'm going to pass these out over there because I can do it all at once. Be right back.
Thank you so much.
That book was published a little over 20 years ago, and it was the Preservation Commission's most recent publication, as I recall. I also wanted to announce to everyone that the Michigan Statewide Historic Preservation Conference will be held in Sault Ste. Marie this year in May 15th through the 17th. It is sponsored, as always, by the Michigan Historic Preservation Network, and it will be held at Lake Superior State University Conference registration will open in February, and I hope some, if not all of you, can think about attending or plan to attend. And my last of 3 comments, and it's actually a question, is do we have any possible dates yet for a planning session for 2025 for the KHPC? Thank you.
I think at this time we just have this weekend for training and don't have a date yet for planning, to my knowledge at least. Any other public comments? No? Maybe? Submitted previously? Okay. Can we circle back yet or keep going?
If you give me 10 more seconds, you guys can talk about the planning session. Sorry, it just takes it a second to actually upload. Yes, it will. It'll just pop right up. It just takes a second for it to upload everything.
It's like magic. Huh?
You'll have to refresh the page. So there'll be both of the groups of minutes on there. I accidentally deleted something from the HDC, so that'll be fun to deal with tomorrow.
I guess context for you book receivers, we sold off the remaining lot that we had to Kazoo Books, I believe. Is that right? In the last, I don't know, 2 years or so. But they're still, I think, for sale in select places around town.
You guys are good to go.
Good to go.
You can double back to the minutes if you'd like, or we can just move on and keep them at the end, whatever you prefer.
Do we want some time to look at them?
Is this October's or August? We're doing
So why don't we just do them in December then? So we can just postpone it until December. It gives the public the opportunity to look at it as well, but they are all up live on the website, just as a point of clarification as well. Generally, I try to get these packets out, and they usually get published on the Friday before. I don't have any automated emails set up, but you can just check. I always just type in Civic Clerk Kalamazoo into the search browser of your choice, and it'll usually pop up with a calendar, and then you can click on the date when we have the meeting, and you'll be able to find the meeting materials there.
Sounds good.
So we're looking at October's.
We'll be looking at the last 2 months, I believe.
Is that what's on this set of minutes? Oh,
We-
August. Okay, there it is.
And so why don't we just take care of it next month? I don't think it's worth kind of
Right.
fiddling around with it anymore right now. I'll make
So-
sure that everything's squared away tomorrow so that we can look at it in December.
Everybody take notes and bring your feedback then. Moving on to reports then, item E, starting with the financial report.
Yeah, so once again, with our lovely reports, I don't think that a lot has changed with any of these. I'm trying to find the most recent things here. One thing that did come up was that when we were looking at the reimbursement of Pam for the postage, you're not able to make payments directly out of the Kalamazoo Community Foundation to an individual. So I thought that that would be rather cumbersome to make it go to the city of Kalamazoo, find the money again, and then disperse it over to Pam. So it just came out of our city held account. It's probably another thing for us to consider, and we can talk about that whenever, is that they cannot go to individuals from the Kalamazoo Community Foundation, but it was dispersed over to Pam. Thank you, Pam. Kind of popping over, and these two are always just split up because they're ran as separate reports, but if we look at the budget report, you'll see that we have, the first one is the expenditures and the second one is the budget, and you'll see that we have $1,276.27 left in the city held account. happy to answer any questions.
Don't see any. So we will move on to the next one, which is the O'Connor Fund Report submitted by Pam, included in the packet. Fine by me.
For the grant that we made to the Disability Network, last week, I think it was last week, Luis asked them to provide us with a testimonial about their experience. And with your permission, I'd like to share that with the commission tonight. This is from Christine Radowski, who is the finance manager at Disability Network. And she said, working with the O'Connor Fund and the Historic Preservation Committee has brought substantial benefits to our organization in several ways. Learning of our eligibility to apply not only increased our appreciation of the historic value of our building, but also reinforced our role in the city's initiative to preserve historic districts. The grant supplied us with critical financial resources for building preservation, allowing us to allocate other funds towards advancing our mission and vision. We deeply valued receiving the letter before the grant-making process. The advance notice allowed us to attend the pre-application workshop and provided ample time to draft a thorough nomination. It also enabled us to fully evaluate our building's current needs, secure proposals, and better understand the city's long-term plans for historic preservation. This grant has empowered us to address immediate preservation needs, ensuring our building remains a functional space and a valued historical asset for the community. We remain committed to assessing our preservation needs going forward. This year's funding supports our work in collaboration with our customers and the community. We extend our heartfelt thanks to the O'Connor Fund and the Historic Preservation Commission for this opportunity and for their generous support. The biggest takeaway is the pre-application workshop was a hit, at least with one of our grantees, which I thought was great. And then just one update on the O'Connor Fund report, and that is that finally yesterday I was able to finish the edits to the grant program's website, intro page, application, and associated documents, with a lot of help from Kayla over the course of the summer, and I sent them to Luis so we can cross that off. And then I would also bring your attention to the last item on page 1 of that report, which is the new spendable dollars for 2025. That's it. Thank you. Questions? I didn't ask.
Thanks for reading the letter.
So I'll get something over I did get something over for the Friday email last week, actually.
Yeah.
Completely forgot. So I didn't include the testimonials because I didn't have them yet. I had one from Civic, but I didn't have one from Disability Network yet. And just in the spirit of fairness, I just kind of left them out so they could be balanced, but was able to update the commissioners then, the city commissioners, with that information. I think that this is a big milestone for us, right, to have, even though it wasn't the inaugural year of the program, to have our inaugural grants put out to the community. Again, you know, I think that if we look back, that means that we've given the community nearly over $35,000 over the past 3 years, between the money that we've given to Community Homeworks and the money that we've given out in our competitive grant program. I am very proud of that. I don't think that it's anything, it's no small feat, right? I think that when you look at a lot of historic preservation commissions, probably across the state of Michigan and across the country, I don't know how many other programs are doing monetary work like this in their communities to be able to promote historic preservation, especially in the ways that we're doing it, trying to go outside of the districts, which I think is something that we can look at as traditional preservation. We're really trying to push the boundaries of that and make sure that we're being inclusive in every sense of the word of who we're giving the money to, and trying to bring everyone into the fold of preservation. So I think that us being able to put our money where our mouth is regarding preservation is a huge deal, and I'm immensely proud of the group for pulling this off, and I appreciate all the hard work that everyone's put into this program. And I think that the recipients, all the recipients that we've had up to this point have also been extremely appreciative of the money that we've given them to help take care of their buildings or take care of other people's buildings on their behalf. So thank you all.
Grant making report is separate? Yes. Maybe? Kind of covered
just
that.
skipped over the O'Connor budget, but I can give you guys the figures real quick. The font came out a little bit funky this month, and I misspelled November. The net assets for O'Connor 1 are $72,697.03. So it's up about $1,000 from October when we had $71,398.22. When we have the current available balance as of now, $14,968.25. O'Connor 2, the net assets are $454,451.27, which is up from $446,332.06. And the spendable as of now is $57,811.29. As Pam shared with us as well, we do have some more funds that'll be coming over to us as well. So that's great to hear. I think it's continuing to climb and continuing to grow. So hopefully that can figure into future projections for the fund.
And that's still accounting for what hasn't been pulled?
That's a great Kalamazoo Community Foundation question, but this is the most recent numbers of funds that have been allocated and dispensed at this time. So I think that the software that the Kalamazoo Community Foundation is running is advanced enough to be able to account for funds that have been dispersed. We also have to account for the fact that funds are not dispersed until the 15th of the month. I just sent out the grant funds, the last one, last week. Both of them probably will not be dispersed until this Friday, the 15th of November. So we can probably expect that O'Connor 2 fund to go down by $14,000, roughly, probably closer to 15. It is 15, but.
Thank you.
That is helpful. Thanks. That brings us to the City Hall report, or standstill.
Only one item to add to that report, and that is that my fellow committee member, Kyle Hibbard, and I talked late last week, and we will be drafting a note to the deputy city manager to see if we can get some assistance and movement on this issue. Thank you.
Thank you both.
Next item then is the Ransom Street project. A few pages in your agendas about that. I did notice it was dated mid-October, so it's probably mostly done if they stuck to what it said in there.
They have the infrastructure completed. Now they want to do the cultural part of it, which at a meeting I attended last month, Ryan Stokes, the city engineer, spoke to residents and conveyed that primarily that they were zeroing in early November to have the street completed. And the plan is for 2 markers per block per side. At first they wanted 8 markers, but I understood it's going over that number now, past 8 from that report. They had the person employed by Abin Marsh at the meeting too. And coming up in November 21st, there's a cultural business district meeting at the North Side Community Association Center, 6 p.m. And that's going to be attended by entire people involved with the project. And the city engineer said now's the time to get the markers going, since they've got the physical part built in. That's what I heard at the meeting. Have you had anything else come down the pipe, Georgia?
No, not really my purview, but I will just kind of refer people to the report that I wrote. Jay Slaby, the neighborhood activator, I spoke with them about this. Again, if we're going to go and try to help, obviously our help has not been solicited at this point, so I do ask that anyone who does want to contribute to this cause reach out to Maddie Jordan Woods. She is the chair of the NCBDA, and the email is included right there. Everything that you said about the project being done is true. This was from earlier, as Kyle noted. It's just kind of how stuff rolls in when we have month-and-month meetings too, but yeah, thanks for bringing it up again and keeping it on top of our minds. And if people do want to help out, just reach out to Maddie and see what she says.
Okay. Brings us to discussion and action items. What officers do we need to elect?
This commission only has 2 officers, chair and vice chair.
That's what I thought.
Yep.
And then we didn't just do it in the spring?
No, we did not.
Because Ryan left and we had to replace him? But that
Just
doesn't
didn't.
count.
Just, I don't, unless I'm incorrect, if we did.
We did.
Okay. So, okay. Always appreciate notes. So, we could do this we can just scratch it then. So we'll do it again in the spring of next year.
Coming up soon anyway. But then for our training this weekend, we need to pay the space. So how do we word such a motion? Exactly as it says there? The chair is not allowed to make a motion.
Yes. I move to approve the expenditure of $75 for the KNAC training space for the training on Saturday.
Do we need to specify an account?
You guys like to specify an account?
Well, I would say 01, however, are we able to make a payment from 01 to,
It's not an individual.
it's not an individual, but,
We've paid them
okay.
before.
All right, then if we've done it before, from the O'Connor One account.
Thank you, Patrick.
Yes.
Yes, O'Connor One, yep.
Do we need a second for that, or we just do a roll call?
Second.
If you need a second, please.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Fred. And then it being a money matter, anytime we're spending money, we do a roll call vote, and you vote in the affirmative if you agree to do the action.
Always vote in the affirmative.
Just clarifying for Robert's rules' sake for the new people. So you heard the motions, and we're going to go down the list in the same order as earlier. Kayla?
Yes.
Fred?
Yes.
Nora?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Dusty?
Yes.
I'll get that.
Melissa?
Yes.
Who we did have a misspelling, one L in that, for the record. And Patrick.
Yes.
Thank you. Unanimous.
KNAC has been so gracious to continue to allow us to utilize space. The space that I went down there and looked at them, I didn't think that we needed the entire main area, which was more expensive, not in a substantial way, but I think that the room that I picked out is going to be perfect for us as a little bit of a smaller screen, but I don't think that that's going to be an issue either. So very thankful to them for allowing us to use that space. Weekends, I think, in my opinion, kind of eliminates the possibility of being able to use a city facility. So it's great that we've developed a relationship with KNAC. KNAC, again, is 315 West Michigan, the First Baptist Church, just down the street on West Michigan. And I can send out directions or anything if people need it as well.
So that's in the basement of First Baptist Church?
Just on the first floor. And I'll be there greeting people at the meeting as well. So.
And that is this Saturday
1 p.m.
at 1.
Yep.
Great. I think that's all for that. Coordinators report then?
Yeah, and so I think it's a nice segue into it. First, apologies for some misspellings in this one and then getting the minutes wrong. I just dragged over the wrong one, I think. So I will have everything squared away for the next meeting for us there. The training, I'm looking forward to. I'm especially looking forward to having both of the commissions be able to get together, I think for the first time in my tenure, to be able to talk about things. Some folks have already sent me over some topics that they'd like to have discussed. So when I wrap up this portion, we can also just kind of have a kind of quick session to be able to go over those things if other people have topics that they'd like to have covered, and I can jot them down. If you don't want to talk about it here, feel free, please, to just email me as well, but do try to get it to me at the very latest by the end of this week so I can put together some PowerPoints or something for the training. Some of the basic things that I know we're going to go over is, as Kyle was alluding to, Robert's rules. I think that sometimes that can seem a little bit more intimidating than it actually is. We use Robert's rules, but we've never gotten into the weeds to the level that I've researched into it. The book is very large, and I bet we've only probably covered 10 pages. So a lot of it's just motions that we're covering. Usually this group does not get super contentious to the point where we need to be tabling things and the like. I think other things we'll go over is an overview of historic preservation in the city of Kalamazoo, which most of you now have gone through with me before you've even applied for the commission, but we can kind of take a more in-depth look at that as well. Just preservation in general and looking at the Secretary of the Interior standards. Section 106 review, and especially the programmatic agreement that we have with the city of Kalamazoo and HUD to be able to go over HUD and home-funded projects in the city of Kalamazoo and how lucky we are to have that. There have been questions about historic preservation awards of merit, so we can talk about that as well. I'm sure that I'm forgetting some other things too, so feel free to shout them out. Kind of want to pose a question to you guys now as well. We, as the city of Kalamazoo right now, are in the process of doing the Imagine Kalamazoo 2035 planning process, which is the master planning process. Most commissions are doing what's called a meeting on the go, which is a short half-an-hour exercise where it's a series of, I think, 6 questions. And I think that having both commissions together would be a great time to do that kind of at the end of the meeting, just kind of visioning. As a city commission, it's important to hear feedback from you all as well. So if you guys don't want to do it at the training, and we can certainly keep it to a half an hour. We did one at work the other day, and we did it in 25 minutes, but we can also do it at our last meeting of the year in December. So whatever you guys think is more appropriate, I will defer to your judgment, but I think that it's going to be a very useful exercise, and obviously then we can kind of also figure out how does preservation, how do we feel maybe that it also fits into the overarching work of the rest of the city in the planning process. And with that, if folks have other topics for training, please do let me know, and I'll make some notes right now.
I actually just saw today that there was a public meeting at the Vine neighborhood, I think this week and maybe next week as well. I don't know, about Imagine Kalamazoo 2035. So public input opportunities as well. Did anybody have anything for Louise for the training? Email him later.
Don't be shy. Last year it was a rather long training, I will admit, with the topics that were handed down. That's why I allocated, I think, 2 or 3 hours for it this time. It's 3 hours, I think, as well this time. So, yeah, just try to shoot me an email like before noon on Friday, and I'll make sure to incorporate it into the materials that we will be looking over.
Did you want to go over your numbers there?
Yeah, so and I think something else to note is we're going to have, I think, you might have noticed that now there's no more $0 thing, so we changed it from, there's no more free administrative hearings as well, just something I wanted to point out to everyone. So it's $35 for all administrative hearings now and $85 for all, $35 for all administrative reviews, rather, excuse me, and $85 for all Historic District Commission hearings. I think that we're pretty well on pace for what we did last year. 63 total administrative reviews, 29 hearings for a total of 92 total reviews, and that's generated $4,670 in revenue for those as well. I don't know if we've had necessarily an uptick in Historic District Commission hearings this year. Kind of feels like it, but I think that we've had a lot of postponements and folks are coming back to the commission to kind of workshop things. So if folks ever want to come to a HDC meeting, you're more than welcome to on the third Tuesdays, geez Louise, third Tuesdays of the month. So they always follow these meetings. And I think that that's another reason why I wanted to have both commissions be able to come together. It's something that I talk about from time to time, but to be able to see how both commissions work influence each other. So it might not seem tangible while we're up here on the dais, but I think that that is something that's really important to keep in mind as we do our work, because it does have an influence then on the HDC, and the HDC's work kind of has the reverbs of their work then I think can also be felt here, as this is the more outward facing commission. They're the more administrative arm of historic preservation in the city of Kalamazoo. So again, look forward to the training.
So maybe just a general statement of this commission establishes the local and historic districts and neighborhoods, and then any project within those established places needs to pass their hearing with HDC. So it's sort of like an enforcement. But yeah, it's interesting. During the pandemic, everything was online, and I guess it is now too, but to listen in on the specifics that can come up in those reviews. And then we look forward to meeting our cohorts, since we've never really crossed paths yet.
Oh, it's going to be a first, so I'm excited for it. They are all still online. Yeah, so looking forward to it.
So that fee change was from your department?
Yes, and they're looking to, this is a delayed letting you guys know that, but that one was just, and I think it was confusing for folks too, that if there was something that did not need a separate permit aside from my review, so work like putting up a fence does not need a building permit if it's under 7 or 8 foot tall, would not require payment, but things that did have an associated permit with it did require a payment. I think that that was a little bit confusing for folks, and I would rather have the parallelism of having them just be the same fee across the board. So there are no more free administrative reviews. Hopefully, even though there's the charge now, hopefully it's a little bit simpler for folks to follow. As we look at our budget, there might be more changes in the new year as well, as we finish up the budget cycle with the city of Kalamazoo. So,
And for further clarification on that, it doesn't go to us. All right. Is that everything you have for your report?
yep.
Thank you. That brings us to commissioner comments. It's a pretty quick meeting, it seems like. So maybe we'll be doing more after our training and planning. Any comments from the commission?
Can I ask a question? I don't have a comment.
I would count it.
Okay. I was just kind of wondering too about, so does our commission every year do kind of like a planning meeting for the next year? Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I was just talking about, but we need to set a date for it.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were talking about this Saturday's training.
Training and planning, we decided need to be separate because one or both can take a long time.
Right, okay. Does that usually happen like in December or like the beginning of the year?
Whenever we make it happen.
Yeah, so,
Oh, okay.
you know, we can, and I'd be more than happy to discuss it now. Want to have that meeting happen. Again, I think that one of the real struggles for me is that obviously you guys are a volunteer board, and I don't like to occupy more than, I don't like to take away time from you guys on weeknights. I know they're getting out of work, especially now with the time change. It's not the most fun thing to have to hop in your car and come down somewhere when it's dark. Weekends then also get a little bit tricky. The beauty of weeknights is that generally I can use city facilities and I don't have to do that much planning ahead of time. On the weekends, we do have to find a space for it. So those are the two considerations to think about as we look at them. I think that last year we just did it on a weeknight. We had 2 meetings in 1 month, I believe, for the training session. We held it in the community room, which is just next door to us. And I think that last year it was probably 2.5 or 3 hours as well. Again, keeping mental fatigue in mind, I don't want to have to put you guys through what could be 3 hours of training and then say, okay, gang, let's get right back to it with 3 hours of a work plan session as well. I don't know how, I wouldn't be as sharp following a training of that length. So more than happy to try to look at something for early next month if that's something that you all would like to do. I apologize that when I sent out, I thought I was being rather nifty when I sent out the Microsoft poll, but I didn't count on people needing to have a Microsoft account to log into that. So my apologies. I won't do that again. I can just send out like a doodle poll or something. It gets kind of overwhelming when we just have a huge thread when people are sending back the dates for me to look at them and keep everything straight. So the polls are helpful. That being said as well, doodle poll is not my favorite because it's kind of overwhelming too. But we can get something set out. I don't know if you guys have a preference then, and we could establish that now for weeknight versus a weekend. I don't know what everyone's feeling here, or a majority of folks are feeling.
I do guess just personally, in December, weekends are going to work a little better for me, but that's just me personally.
I'd go weeknights, but I'm okay either way.
I work like every other Saturday, so as long as I have a little notice, I can make a weekend work. But weekdays are also more free for me.
Okay.
I can do either.
Just depends on the date.
Yeah, so I'll send something out for the first half of December to get that squared away so we can look at it and get the plan updated for the new year. And then was there any general leaning from this commission, sorry about all the feedback, regarding doing the meeting on the go at the end of the training or doing it at the next meeting?
So it's just like discussion items or?
More or less. It's like small breakouts where you can write things down and then the group can come together and it spurs a discussion then of what people are looking at.
I feel like that would be easier not on a dais with microphones, but that's my opinion.
Agree 100%.
Yeah, agree on that.
Questions are like, what do you really like about Kalamazoo? What do you think what could be better? There's some subcategories that, what are you looking for in the master planning process? They're pretty broad questions, and I think, again, it is just meant to get a conversation going. So we can certainly, and we can make sure that we cap that time to 30 minutes at the end of the training. And if people want to continue to talk about it afterwards, they certainly can, but just to make sure that we're respectful of everyone's time.
All right. we have plans for planning. I feel like I was going to say something else, but I forgot. All right, last call. Okay. Thank you all for your time. See you next month or this weekend, hopefully. Good night.